All right. Hey, government class. This is just going to be a very short PowerPoint here. I want to talk you through just a couple topics. First, immigration, and then also citizenship, right? So these two are kind of the big themes here, right? Because at the end of yesterday's lesson, you had to make a list of rights and responsibilities of citizenship. And so now we're going to kind of see, like, okay, how do you get to be a citizen? So there are a couple questions on the assignment today that you'll have to just kind of Google. You're going to need to know the terms like illegal alien, naturalized citizen, okay, a couple others. You're just going to have to Google those. Okay, they're not difficult, so I'll let you just look those up. And let me also say, at least in America, our definition of citizenship, of course, has changed over time. So as we think about history, like, for instance, we used to not allow really true citizenship until age 21, right? Because you couldn't vote until age 21. And then in the Vietnam War, we lowered that to 18, right? We used to not grant full citizenship rights, honestly, to women, right? Because women couldn't vote. But of course, now we do. So the definition of citizenship, or the qualifications, I guess I could say, of it, might change. Just so you're aware. So let's kind of start at the beginning, right? As you can see on my slide here, um, who gets to immigrate to the United States, and then how do they become citizens? So first off, who gets to immigrate to the U.S.? Well, there's several groups. Biggest group is people that already have relatives here. Okay, and this number shifts and changes a little bit each year, but it generally stays right around 650,000 people that we're going to let in that meet that qualification. And there's many, many more that apply. Okay, but we will choose 650,000. And this doesn't have to just be a immediate relative. It could be a cousin, an aunt, grandma. Okay, any of those people. Why? Well, first of all, because we want these people to have some type of safety net when they immigrate. Doesn't mean that they couldn't get welfare or they couldn't get unemployment here in the U.S., right? They could. But, more help would be, honestly, a family member who has an extra bedroom where they could stay for the first couple months until they get their feet on the ground. Okay, so we want them to have a built-in safety net already. And secondly, it's also going to ease their transition to our country. Okay, rather than knowing nobody, right? At least they have somebody here that they can go visit, somebody they could talk to on the phone, somebody that could be a reference for a job interview. Okay, so it's going to ease their transition. So that's the first group, right? People that already have relatives here. Second group is about 150,000 people a year who have jobs or skills or careers that are in high demand here in the U.S. I'm not going to make a list of those currently. It's always kind of shifting and shaping, of course, a little bit. But you get the idea. Unfortunately, a McDonald's drive-through worker is not going to qualify under this stipulation. Okay. Again, why? Well, of course, it's obvious. It helps to improve our U.S. economy. And is that kind of selfish? Well, sure. But the whole point, remember, we defined what a nation is a couple days ago. The whole point of a nation is to be selfish, right? I mean, America doesn't exist to benefit people that live in Italy. Okay, it exists to benefit those that live in the U.S. And we wouldn't expect that of other nations. Okay, so our immigration policy should benefit us. And secondly, it also, of course, makes it more likely that the immigrant will be successful. They're going to be able to find a job, and it's going to be well paying or good paying. Okay. Third group. How do you want to do a new slide here? We also have an immigration lottery every year. And we draw roughly about 100,000 names of people that applied for citizenship that didn't get chosen in one of those first two groups. Okay. And so this just gives people that maybe don't fit one of those two qualifications that we just discussed, still gives them a chance to get in here to the U.S. All right. And then the final group is refugees. And, depending on what's going on in the world, we might have very few refugees in a year, or we might have a lot. Okay, and by a lot, I guess maybe up to, say, around 100,000. Okay, it's rare that we have more than that, but we could get up to around 100,000 a year. And to be clear, a refugee is someone who is fleeing persecution or famine or extreme violence in their country. And so we allow them to come here to the US. And it's designed to actually be temporary. Okay, so this is something people don't always remember. A refugee hopes to go back to their home country, actually, when all these problems are solved. Now, they might not. Okay, they might not. But the goal is typically to be able to go back to their home country. All right. Last point here is that really, this is actually pretty generous. If you do the math, it's about 1 million people each year that get to come into our country. And even though the media likes to talk a lot about immigration, and I get it, there are definitely some policies that we should change. But when you compare our immigration policy to other countries, it's really quite generous. And in fact, I won't bore you with a bunch of stats, but we have the largest number of immigrants of any nation in the world currently today. And if you look, just go by percentage, right? I put down here about 14% of our current U.S. population is actually immigrants. And if you think, oh well, we've really tightened up on that recently. Again, the media likes to make it sound that way, but it's not true. At no point in our history has the percentage gone significantly above 14%, unless you go like all the way back to 1700s, when there was hardly anybody here, and obviously people were coming, and that kind of skews the stats because there was hardly anybody here at that point. But in modern times, it's never gone above 15, I think, and a half percent. So we're really very generous, and we really try to have a lot of immigrants come to our country. All right, now you're going to use this info, right, for your assignment today. But I'm also then going to ask you to do the next part, right? Because we also want to talk about, how does an immigrant become a citizen? And this is fairly straightforward. I won't bore you with lots of details. First, of course, you have to immigrate here, right? You have to move here. Second, you have to live here for 5 years. Okay, now you can leave on vacation or to go back to visit family, but you have to live here for 5 years. Third, you've got to pass another background check. We want to make sure that you haven't suddenly become a mafia drug lord or something, okay, in these 5 years. And last, you have to pass the citizenship test. And you have to get a 7 out of 10. And there's 100 possible questions, and you get a random 10. So it's pretty challenging. Now, as your assignment today, you're going to have a graded assignment about these topics and about the rights and responsibilities of citizens. But you'll also get a participation score just for trying out the citizenship test. Okay, I'm not going to grade it because this isn't stuff we have studied necessarily, but I want you to just see what an immigrant would be up against if they did, in fact, have to pass the test. Okay? All right. Again, if there's questions, hit me up on Zoom. Okay? Send me an email. I hope things are going well now for you guys here a couple days into virtual school for this second trimester. And I hope you're also glad that you don't actually have to pass the citizenship test. You guys are natural born citizens.